Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another amazing video tutorial on Palito's technology. In today's video, we are going to be creating the part 3 of our integration with Business Central. So in case you're new to this channel, kindly subscribe, like, share this share the link of this channel to your friend and family. So on this channel we offer Business Central education. Business Central, in case you're new to Business Central is an ERP software for small and large businesses. So alright, so just to complete the series in which we are currently creating, that's on the integration process. We have created the part 1, the part 2, and today we are going to be having the part 3. So the part 3 for today is going to be we're going to be working with a post request. If you have been following this series, you would see that we have been able to retrieve customer from this API, and we're able to update our record on the ERP. So today we'll try to create from Business Central. We create from Business Central, and then it should be able to create on this endpoint also. So for us to create, there's simple instruction here. So we see, for us to create a customer, we need a post request, and all that is needed is a access token, and we can also get the snippet from here. So we need to set the header square version. Also the header, we set the authentication method, and we also set the content type application JSON. So the body of the post request is going to include the birth, company name, email, family name, given name, nickname. So we are going to be passing this data into the post request, and we're going to get a response at the end of the day. So when I run this, we get a response, and we should take note of the response code, which is 200, which means our post request was successful, and we should be able to get a response containing a JSON that whatever we created was successful. So basically this is what we want to do in a nutshell. So let's get into it. So before we get into it, actually I have created this video earlier, and then I had to create it again. I was not able to complete it. That's due to I had to do other things, other activities. Alright, so without wasting your time, let's just move into the video. Alright, so just where we stopped, if you remember, the last time we worked with this get request, which all it does is to send a get request to the Square API and bring a response. So from the response, we used the response to create a record within the ERP system. Alright, so we want to replicate the same thing, but this time around we want to post into the API. So we want to take the current list of the customers that we have on our ERP software. We want to transfer it down to the endpoint API. So what did I do different here? All I did different was, also because I'm going to be using the record customer, I defined a record called customer. Meanwhile, we need our URL. So as you all know, HTTP client, this is the method we use to access HTTP request, be it get, post, delete, whatever HTTP method, we make use of the HTTP client. So I'm also creating a response to take whatever response I get from the HTTP client. So I put the response into the variable called respond. So I have HTTP header. This is for me to set the content type as application/JSON and any other additional header requested by this implementation. So you will see that I'm making use of HTTP content, and this is what I use to send the body of the message. That's this body of the message. When it comes to the body part of the message, this part, the section, I use the content to send that. So I also define a JSON data because the data I'm going to be sending is a JSON data. So I have a status check to check if it's successful or not, and also I have a final one I use to test at the end of the day. After all the record has been sent to the API, I use this to check the status if it all went fine. So I also have HTTP request. This also is more like this HTTP header. I can also use this to relay the message to the from the post request. So I have this body which I am going to be using to take in the data. The JSON data that I have created, I use this to take it as a text. Then I also have an error that I use to tie my errors. Alright, so basically like what we have done earlier, I defined the URL, also HTTP client, I cleared it in case there are anything inside the HTTP client. So it's always good to work with a clean environment. So I usually do this. It's a good practice for me, so I know when I have my error, I know where to trace my error from. So since I am working with the customer record, I checked because I want to get all records from the customer. Then I check if it is not empty. So what this does is that since I call on the record customer and I check if it is not empty, it automatically checks all the record within the customer, and then it returns that list back for me. So my JSON data, which I'm going to be using in the future, I also cleared it because per each customer I want to have a new JSON data for them. So I want to keep sending this new request to them, to the API. So I also cleared the body at the end of the day, because whatever data I get from the JSON, I am still assigning it to the body. So basically this is what I did. JSON data, I added those attributes needed to create a customer on the API. Given name, you can see, date of birth, you can see. So company name, I assign the company name as the customer's name. The data email, I assigned it as the customer's email, and basically normal JSON data, right? So after I have done all of that, I want to make use of HTTP content. I first of all cleared this HTTP content. Also I cleared the HTTP client within this scope, right? So after doing that, I also cleared the HTTP response, and then I set the header HTTP client default header. I removed any default headers that might be present. And what did I do? I got all the header also from the HTTP request that I have defined up here. So I get all the header, then I write the JSON data. I write whatever JSON I have written here, or this JSON here, all the data, all the body data, I write it, and then I dumped it into this body. So from the body, I am going to be reading the body from the HTTP content. Like I said, HTTP content is responsible for writing the data. That is why it is called HTTP content. What content? So the body content which I want to send to the API. So I digested it by reading from the body. Alright, so I cleared the header and added the content type application/JSON. At first I tried using post directly, and because I am using a content type application/JSON, it doesn't allow me to use post directly. If you can see, I had to make use of send instead of me using post. So I use send, but I made sure the HTTP request, which I have defined earlier, I made sure that the method equals a post request, and then I set the URL by saying that HTTP request, then I set the URL using this. So the next thing I did was So my HTTP request, the content, I assigned it to equals to the body of the post request. Then this is what I need. I did check. It's not needed for you. I just did this check. At some point I was getting an error, so I needed to add this condition there. If the string length of the body, if there's any cases whereby the body is empty, I want to exit. So I then check if it is successful. The HTTP client.send. Now you can see I'm sending two arguments. I'm sending the HTTP request, which now has the content inside the HTTP content. You get, so HTTP request. Now whatever response I get, I put it here. Right, so you can see, then I said if it is not successful, then I put my custom error. So aside that, I am putting whatever. If this is successful, if it is not successful, we have two step of error. So I say HTTP content read as error. So whatever content it has, I'm receiving it as an error, just for me to check. So now I check if the response is successful states. If it is not successful, that is, if it is not 200, I put a custom error saying API return a status of the custom status. So actually I ought to do, this is not what I ought to pass. So this should be response dot HTTP status code. Alright, so then I check if response is successful, so that means it returns 200, right? So because I don't need the output data it's giving me, so all I need to confirm to myself is I already know the response was successful. That means my data was inserted successfully. So I assigned send equals true. And mind you, we are within a loop. If we have 5 customers, it's going to loop through 5 customers. That means this one must always be true. If it is true, then I say posted successful. So you can just calm down, go ahead, do the same thing I have done here, and then I'll just go ahead and publish. So this should be my internet. Alright, so internet is very bad. I really do not have time to start editing video, so my apology. I just squeeze my time to make these videos. If you have any special request, you can do well to drop a comment. Put your drop your request. I will look into it, and if it's something that interests me, I would definitely like to work on it. And also, if it's something that doesn't interest me, I still would make the video. Just do well to subscribe, like, and share this channel. we are currently on 728, if I'm not mistaken, 728 subscriber, and this has been amazing. I couldn't have gone this far without you. Cheers to you guys. You guys have been amazing so far. So let's see. Today my network is against me. Now I think the browser is against me. So let's see where we are at. Sorry for the inconvenience. Alright, I think this is loaded now. So we have two action button, and so I don't forget, I added an action button also. So let me just go there so it doesn't look like magic. So from the page extension, I added the customer list and also post customer, which is almost a replica of what we did earlier, just for me to call the function that we just wrote. So I can go ahead and say transfer customer. Once I do this, mind you, you can also put a telemeter, if I'm right. That's a process that shows when posting a specific data, the status kind of dialogue that keeps updating, just like when you want to post a sales invoice, you get to see the status when it is still posting the inventory and still going under the GL account. You see the status. You can also make something like that. So I am just showing you a guideline on what you need and the main key things you need. Now you can build on top of this. So you can see I have posted successfully. So how do I get to know? Let's say I want to come back here and now say, okay, now download list from the API. So it should be able to, you can see we have a lot of list here. Now that means the API has been able to post into the Square data, and also now I can also retrieve all those data back into the ERP system. So now this is not a good practice because this is more of repetition. As you can see, these are repetition. So there should also be a check that looks if a specific customer already exists on the ERP or even on the endpoint API. So I hope I have been able to pass the knowledge in posting application/JSON into an external endpoint from the Business Central. So you can also first come here to try and see the arguments you need in order for you to have a successful creation of customer, right? So you need to first fill all of this, check how it works, run it, and see the response. So from there you already understand what is expected of you and what is not, and you already understand when you get some certain type of error, why you're actually getting those error. Thank you for watching. See you next time.